Today on the Surviving the Human Experience podcast, we are excited to welcome Jamie Andrzejewski. Jamie is going to take us on a journey and share her firsthand experience and wisdom on the importance of showing up with grief. Before we get started with today's conversation, I'd like to share more about Jamie with our listeners. Promoting wellness and spreading kindness is at the heart of who Jamie Andrzejewski is. As the founder and owner of Nourish Natural Products, Jamie believes that both inner and outer well-being matter, and it's her mission to share this message through products that nurture the body, mind, and home. Her path to wellness entrepreneurship was a natural evolution. After a successful career in corporate America, Jamie seized the opportunity to align her passion for mindfulness, naturopathic healing, and intentional living with her work. Through Nourish, she empowers others to lead their best lives with products that are not only effective, but crafted with care. She weaves her love for meditation and holistic wellness into every aspect of the brand, creating offerings that are as thoughtful as they are nourishing. A gifted storyteller, Jamie's words uplift and educate, reflecting her belief that wellness is a journey best taken together. Beyond her business, Jamie is a leader in the entrepreneurial and women owned small business community, serving as a mentor and advocate for others. Recognized as one of Milwaukee's top women in wellness and named among 30 people shaping the future of Milwaukee, Jamie's impact reaches far beyond her products. She also shared her entrepreneurial insights as a mogul on Project Pitch It, and was celebrated as one of the notable women in manufacturing. Jamie lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with her husband and daughter. She finds joy in yoga, hiking through national parks, and spending time with loved ones. Whether in nature or within her community, Jamie's dedication to wellness and kindness continues to inspire. So,
Oh,
welcome to the show, Jamie.
oh my goodness, what a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Kristen. I'm
Absolutely.
grateful to be here and thank you for giving me space to share about my amazing sister, Jenny.
Yes, absolutely. And it was my honor to share. I have followed you for quite some time and enjoy all of your product line and have been, really watching your story unfold. And so honored to have the time today to have this moment with you and for you to be able to share the beautiful life of your sister. So,
Mm,
this
thank
is going
you.
to be a really, really special episode for our listeners. So let's get into today. Our episode today is going to be deeply personal. It's one that's filled with heartfelt connection. I would first like to take a moment to show my love and appreciation for your willingness to share your story with our listeners today, because this is very personal. Having lost a sibling, I understand the importance of honoring that relationship and that life of our loved ones who have passed. It's really important to cherish that. I'm honored that you have chosen to share your story with the She Wise family, and we extend our deepest sympathies to you and your
Mm,
family as you continue to honor your sister's memory. Her light still shines brightly, and I know that she's shining down on all of you.
mm.
Yeah. So
Oh,
let's,
wow. I feel
yeah.
so loved and welcomed. Thank you very much, Kristen.
Yes,
And
yes.
hello to the She Wise family. Yes.
So, to start off the conversation, we're going to kind of walk through the story, right? And we worked together on this. I want our listeners to know that this is a very different episode than we've done in the past. And so, this is very collaborative. I wanted to make sure we're honoring your sister, we're honoring your family, everybody involved. So, we're going to start off with the journey where we're talking about honoring Jenny and showing up in grief. Jamie, you recently experienced a tremendous loss, which has forever transformed the way you approach grief. Because this is such a personal topic that has a profound impact on life and the lives of those who have the opportunity to know your sister, I would like to invite you to just share a little bit about that story so that we can join you in honoring Jenny and her legacy through our conversation today.
Yes. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm so thrilled to be here with you. And as I shared with you, I want to share with everyone listening that my sister passed away 2 months ago, and my heart is still really tender. And
Mhm.
so I will be speaking from the heart today. I will be free flowing, but I also have prepared notes because I am still discovering and practicing how to
Hmm.
speak about her death. And so, Kristen, thank you for your grace and compassion. And
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
everyone watching, if I glance down at my notes, it's because it just means a great deal to me to get this right. And so,
Yes.
just to share, I am so deeply proud of my sister that Jenny died just as bravely and boldly and beautifully as she lived. And her story is one of courage, acceptance, selflessness, and above all, love. And just as some background, Jenny was diagnosed with diabetes in her early 20s. And even back then, she was really clear that she prioritized quality of years over
Hmm.
quantity. And that was my sister. She always lived on her terms. She knew what she wanted, she knew what she loved, and she never apologized for it. Sometimes that looked like stubbornness, but really it was a deep inner strength. She did it her way for 42 years, and I so deeply admire that. Sometimes when I feel sad about how young she was when she died, I remind myself that Jenny lived fully. And as her older sister, I didn't really start living life on my own terms until I was 40 years old. So I've had 7 years. My sister had 42 years. And I just think, gosh, we could all be that lucky.
Hmm.
And just a little more about my sister is that looking back, Jenny seemingly always had health issues, but the last 10 years were especially difficult on her. Her diabetic complications slowly took more and more from her health, her independence, and her day-to-day joys. And then a year and a half ago, we almost lost her when her kidneys stopped functioning entirely. And so dialysis gave us more time with her, but Jenny's suffering was immense and her world kept getting smaller. And so last November, she shared with us that 2025 would be her last year. She hated dialysis. Dialysis was her full-time job, and she let us know that she was going to pick a date to stop her treatments.
Hmm.
She knew her quality of life was gone and she was done.
Hmm.
And that choice was not about giving up. It was
Hmm.
about living true to her values until the very end. So Jenny's legacy is one of love and authenticity, of showing us what it means to live and to leave on your own terms. Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
Hmm.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, I felt all of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
For somebody to be able to be that strong in their conviction, to know that this is what she wanted, and for those around her to be able to honor that is so huge because I think it's so natural for us to immediately say, "No, I want you
Hmm.
here," right? There's that human response that says, "You can't go anywhere. I am not
Right.
done."
That's right.
Um, you guys had to put those feelings aside to be
That's
able
right.
to honor her and to support her in her journey because it was just as, this was her journey and you were there alongside. But, oh,
There was great comfort in that she was such an anchor for us during that time,
hmm,
being able to see her conviction, her
yes,
confidence
yes,
gave all of us comfort. It really
right,
did, knowing that
right,
this was absolutely what she wanted. And I
hmm,
know not everybody gets that, but we did, and
right,
it was a
yeah,
blessing. Hmm.
yes. And just honoring those wishes, right? There was nothing left to question, right? You
That's right.
didn't have to figure out, okay, what does she want? How does she want it? She was very
She
clear
told
and you
us.
were, yeah. And
She told
yes.
us. Yes.
Yeah, and I love that because then you were able to honor her wishes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow. So Jenny has been a teacher throughout her journey here on Earth. And
That's
during
right.
those last months, you shared a lot of tender moments with her. So, what would you say you've learned about grief and how we show up for each other in love?
Mm. Yeah. And you said it. I believe the most important thing we can do is simply show up.
Mm,
That's it. And the truth is not everyone does it, and I get it because it's scary and
yeah.
it's vulnerable.
Mhm.
It's it's hard to sit with someone in their pain, to
Mm.
face the reality of loss, to not know the right words to say. I get it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But with my sister's journey, and I really tried to do this just in life, is just to
Mm.
always show up.
Mm.
And yes, with her, I did it again and again. And I will tell you at first, I thought that meant creating spectacular moments for her. I
Mhm.
wanted to create a bucket list, cross off as many things
Oh.
as we could. And
Mhm.
while we did create, and she allowed us to do a very special experience with her and for her, she
Mhm.
was adamant, gently but firmly letting us know no more, right?
Okay.
That she had already done what she had wanted to do in
Mhm.
life, and she really just wanted her last days to be simple. She wanted to just
Mm.
spend time with her people. So
Mm.
that's what we did. We sat on the couch. We were ridiculous. My sister was one of the sassiest, most spirited, hilarious
Oh.
people. So we laughed.
Mhm.
We ate really good food. We watched movies. Yes, sometimes we cried, but we mostly laughed.
Mm.
And those ordinary moments were simple, but they were so sacred. And I learned that that showing up, it doesn't mean you need to fix the pain. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean you need to do something spectacular. It
Mhm.
just means being present. And it means bearing witness to someone's life, their joy
Mhm.
and their pain and their
Mhm.
humanity. And I feel so blessed that I had that time to just be with
Mhm.
Jenny. Not everyone gets that, and I did. And I know how precious that gift was.
Oh, wow. There's so much in there.
Mhm.
So much that you shared, and you have to walk that journey to be able to have those lessons to share with others. And I hope
Right.
for those that are listening, that they can see this time, although it can be sad, as a gift and an opportunity to really be present in the human experience and really cherish the time that we have. It
That's
doesn't
right.
have to be all sad, right? I love that you said how
No,
much you laughed and just had ridiculous fun. Like, it just
we
seems so
absolutely did.
contrary, right?
It does. And there was a part of me that thought, well, I always wanted to honor my feelings, but I also thought I am just going to soak her up while she's still here. And
Yes.
I wanted to be fully present for it. And I knew I could be sad and break down. And there were, of course, times that I did, but I just wanted to soak her up.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah, I love that. That's the best
mhm.
way to explain it. I love
Yeah,
it. So let's talk about Jenny's story and choice a little bit,
yeah,
because you've
yeah.
mentioned that here, and I think that's such a huge part of the story. So as Jenny's journey unfolded, as you mentioned, she was facing a lot of difficulties, difficult decisions. There were so many factors to consider: physical, emotional, spiritual, and she made choices when it came to her treatment plan. So can you share with our listeners how the power of choice factored into Jenny's journey?
Absolutely. And thank you for asking because
Mhm.
I am still trying to process how Jenny was able to make all those choices and make them with such intention and courage and
Mhm.
love. The first thing, her first decision is, she had to come to her own conclusion of when enough was enough. When the bad days outnumbered the good days, and
Mhm.
when she was done. Um, then I can't even imagine doing this, but she had to choose an exact date that she would stop her dialysis
Mhm.
treatments. And in Jenny, like the most Jenny way possible, she wanted to pick Friday the 13th. So
Oh,
she looked at all,
she
yeah,
had a sense of humor.
she had a sense of humor. She kind of wanted to give the finger to
Yes,
dialysis. And
yes.
so she looked at what months had June, or I mean, what months had Friday the 13th, and June was one of them. And so that's what she picked. And so so she told us in November, that gave us 8 months to prepare.
Okay.
And during that time, she showed extraordinary thoughtfulness.
Mm,
in every choice that she made because she wanted to make sure all of her people were okay, that we
mhm,
could come to a place of peace
mhm,
with her decision. And to me, it just felt like Jenny thought of everything. Just some examples of that is my sister lived with my parents for the last 5 years. They were
mhm,
her caretakers. They loved her so deeply. She knew they would have a hard time after she passed if they had to go through all of her belongings. And so
mhm,
in the months leading up to her passing, she gave away almost everything she had. And she did, even the way she did that was incredibly
mhm,
intentional and beautiful. Like she had to organize all of her finances and do all of the paperwork. We're going to talk about this, but she planned, she would never let me call it this, but she had to plan, her living funeral. She
mhm.
ordered and decorated her own urn, right?
Oh,
And then
wow.
she gave us gifts.
Mm,
And what she gave me, you might be able to see, but she
yeah,
gave me a necklace, and I'll show.
yeah,
But
yeah.
she gave me a necklace, she gave my daughter a necklace, and it's of her fingerprint. And when you lay the necklaces side by side, the fingerprints form a heart.
Oh,
Yeah. So she
wow.
gave everyone such special and meaningful gifts. She pre-wrote birthday cards for all of us to receive over the course of this next year.
Oh
She
my
recorded
gosh.
her voice for us. And even 2 months later, we're still discovering treasures that she beautifully thought of before she passed. Mm,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful. The
Hmm.
amount of attention to detail, the energy placed in,
Yes,
even though it was her that was going through this process, she was still thinking of everyone
that's
behind.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. It was extraordinary. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so were some of those decisions and choices that were made, were they difficult for some of your loved ones to understand, or was there a genuine understanding of Jenny's
Mhm.
choices, or somewhere in the middle?
Think that's a beautiful question
Mm,
because Jenny made all of our lives brighter, and none of us wanted to lose her. But we knew how much she was suffering. And I am so proud of my family, of Jenny's circle of friends. They are incredible that from the very beginning, we all
mhm,
chose to support her decision, that she had spent her entire life pouring into all of us. And now
mhm,
was the time that we could, in return, pour into her to honor her wishes and to love her in whatever way she needed. I will tell you though, there were people outside of, our closest circle who
mhm,
struggled to understand, and I get it.
mhm.
Some would ask questions like, "Isn't there something more she can do? Or
Right.
can't she get a transplant?" And I knew those questions came from a place of love and concern, but
Mhm,
they were heavy to carry. It often felt like in the middle of my grief that I had to comfort others,
mm,
reassure them about a reality I was still learning to live with myself.
mhm,
And one of the hardest questions was when people asked if Jenny was a believer, because my sister had a very complex faith journey.
mhm,
And I don't believe that it was mine to explain or
mhm.
justify. What I
Sure.
do know and what I hold on to is God's promise that absolutely nothing can separate us from his love.
Mhm.
But still, those conversations were exhausting because
Yeah.
they asked me to convince others that Jenny would somehow be okay in the afterlife. And I
Mhm.
just really wanted them to know she is okay. Like right
Right.
now, she is okay.
Right.
But in the end, the people who truly knew Jenny understood her choices.
Mhm.
They honored her for the thoughtful, authentic, soulful woman she was. And
Mhm.
then the greatest gift we could give her was the understanding, the acceptance, and the unconditional love. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how you shared that because it can be overwhelming you're trying, like you said, to navigate your own experience here. This is tremendous. This is heavy.
Hmm.
And it's interesting how people very well intentioned will inject their thoughts or their recommendations. And at the end of the day, it's not all of
Mhm.
our choices to
That's right.
make, right? At the end of the day, we have to honor the wishes of our loved one and the journey that they're on because we each have our own individual journey.
That's right.
And all we can do is support each other
That's
along the
right.
way.
And
Yeah,
I understood it came
sure.
from a place of love and fear, right? How
Hmm.
can I make sure this doesn't happen to my loved one? Or
Yes.
just like, right, almost like how just trying to compute or just trying to feel better about the situation.
Yeah.
And I just, I will tell you this. I don't care how many mistakes you make,
Hmm.
it's that you show up. And so for all of these people who ask these questions, I have so much grace and compassion because they showed up,
Yes.
they cared,
Yes.
they asked the
Yes.
questions. I'm sharing this to just say that, listen, it's okay to ask the questions, but listen to the response because if there's any kind of pushback or just um, if it feels that the person is challenged in answering, then just gently, kindly back off.
Yes.
Right.
I
Yeah.
love that. I
Mm.
love that. Because everybody's going through this experience, and there's so often the need for the rational mind to be able to
Yes,
make sense of what's
exactly.
happening, right? Because
Yes.
there isn't a lot of sense in these moments. It's
Right.
just, this is what we're facing, and we have to figure out how to navigate that. And sometimes it's not ours to solve.
That's right. And I would
Yeah.
sometimes say that to myself, Kristen, it's not my
Yeah.
job. It's not my
It's not your job.
internally,
Yes.
internally, right?
Yes.
It's not my
Yes.
job for that person to be
Yes.
to sort out their faith, right? That's
Yes.
not my job. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I
Hmm.
agree. Oh, how powerful. So
Hmm.
were simple sacred rhythms a part of Jenny's wishes? And if so, how did that unfold?
Yeah, absolutely. Because Jenny never wanted a big fuss made over her. She was clear that she wanted to be treated the same. After she told us, she said, "Don't treat me any differently. I don't want any pity."
Mhm.
And she didn't want any special attention. And I mentioned before, she didn't want anything grand or spectacular, even though I would have moved the world for her.
Mm-hmm.
She just wanted to be with her people. And so that's what we did. We honored her wishes. And just to share some of those simple sacred moments, every Tuesday, so it was 8 months, so I couldn't be with her every single day. But in the beginning, like every Tuesday, I would go over to my parents' house and I would visit with them and my sister, and my mom would make us omelets, and my
Oh,
dad would tell his dad jokes. And
oh,
again, my sister loved to laugh, so we would just laugh. We did ordinary things like watch hockey games and comedy specials.
oh,
And she loved food. Food was one of her great joys. So we ordered takeout. Uh, Nothing was grand, nothing was showy, just the everyday joys of being together. What I learned is those ordinary moments become priceless when you realize they're finite. Mhm.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Mhm.
Oh, that's such an important thing because as we've talked and we see things, and I love like Make a Wish and all of the different opportunities that are afforded. There's often this response of, as you mentioned earlier, the bucket list. We got to do this, we got to do
Mhm.
this, right? And we've got
Mhm.
to have all these things to show, to check off. And wow, the simple little things are what matter. Like you said, it's the time with family and friends. It's the time enjoying the favorite foods. It's the time watching the funny shows that we just kind of, they happen to be in the background when we're
Mhm.
living life and we don't really think
That's
much
right.
of it. And then when it comes to, we're counting days or we're counting months or whatever the
Right.
case is,
Right.
it's like, what do we want that to look like? Because a lot
Right.
of times we don't know when it's coming, right? I always say that there are two things that are certain in the human experience: birth and death. They're
Yeah.
definitely going to
Yeah.
happen, right? For sure. What happens in between, we don't know. But when you know, it's a different ball game because now
That's
it's
right.
like there's
Yes.
this hourglass that's
That's
ticking,
absolutely right.
and so maximizing those moments is
Yes.
so important, so
That's right.
important. And knowing what matters to the person, right? Because for you, it might be something totally different than your
That's right.
sister, and for your mom,
That's right.
right? It might be, I want to go jump out of the plane and
That's right.
parasail, and for others, it might be, I just want to watch my favorite movie with
That's
a
right.
with some popcorn. you
That's right.
know?
And
Oh,
thank you for pointing that out
yeah.
because my story is what my sister wanted,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
she did allow us to create this one special big moment for
Mhm.
her where my
Mhm.
sister loved hockey so much. And I am friends with the owner of the Milwaukee Admirals, and
Mhm.
he and his team set up this most incredible experience where we were able to join the team before the game and hang out with them and like
Oh.
fist bump them and
Um,
just see them warming up. We got to be at the glass. We got to um, some cool things during the game, but then after the game, they invited us into their locker room, and her two favorite players presented her with an autographed jersey. So everybody had signed it, and they gave her, thanked her for being such a huge fan, and said that her support and loyalty had made such a difference. And yeah, so that was beautiful.
right.
And I think Jenny loved it, but I think all of us around her loved it equally or more because it was so special.
Yes.
And so I I'm in favor of both,
Mhm.
right? However, whatever suits your family, the person, right? Like to honor that. But to that point too, knowing that I looked at my sister and I thought, whatever she wants, but to also recognize that we matter in this experience and we're having a grief journey along with it. So,
Yes. Oh, it's a
yeah,
delicate dance.
that's
It
right.
really is a delicate
That's right.
dance. Yeah. So let's jump into the living funeral.
Yes,
You
yes.
alluded to that a little bit before, right? So you shared in some of your reflections in your work. I had an opportunity to read that. And for my listeners who haven't, we'll share those links
Mhm.
in the bio on both the radio page and the YouTube channel. But you shared in those reflections and works that you had a living funeral for your sister while she was still with you. Such a heart-filled celebration of life. This is the first time I had ever read anything like this. And I thought,
Mhm.
wow,
Mhm.
how incredibly beautiful this was. So if you feel comfortable doing so, I'd like to invite you to share with our listeners what was this living funeral, if it's new for them, because it was for me,
Mhm.
and share a bit about your experience.
Yes, absolutely. And I mentioned earlier too that Jenny would never have allowed us to call it a living funeral or a celebration of life. When we sent out invitations, it was invitations to celebrate her last dialysis treatment.
Oh,
It was a
wow.
pool party to
Um,
celebrate that last treatment. So just to give you a sense of where Jenny was
yes,
at with that. And again,
yes.
because she wasn't comfortable being the center of attention. But really, it was a gathering where all of her favorite people came together to just really honor her and love on her.
Mhm.
And my sister has always loved to swim. And
Mhm.
really, over the last several years, she wasn't able to because of the risks and the complications
Mhm.
of that. And so Jenny thought, though, you know, who cares now? Like if something
Right,
happens, so
right.
be it. So
Mhm.
so we were going to swim. So we threw a huge pool party and we did it at our local high school. And we were able to use their party room and their pool, their huge pool. And it was amazing. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to read a tiny
Please
excerpt
do.
from what I wrote about it because it was such a
Yes,
magical day. One
yes.
of the most loved soaked experiences I've ever been a part of. And it was a day I never wanted to end.
Oh,
So last Saturday, we gathered for something rare and beautiful, a celebration of Jenny's life while she was still here with us to feel all the love. It was a pool party, just the way she wanted. We laughed, we cried, we swam, we hugged, we reminisced, we cannonballed, we held each other close. It was an afternoon of all the feels, courageous and beautiful, heartbreaking and joyful. Jenny's favorite friends were there. Our family was there. People traveled from near and far, and everyone came with one shared purpose to love Jenny in the most wholehearted, unconditional way. There was no judgment, there was no awkwardness, just deep, reverent love. It felt like a movie. We tossed beach balls, floated in tubes, splashed, and swam. Jenny was radiant. and I stood in awe of her friends who soaked in every last moment they could, knowing it would be their last time with her. The joy was pure, the pain was too. It's a strange duality to live in, a sacred letting go while also trying to hold on. That day was Jenny through and through, authentic, joy-filled, and love-centered. It was it was stunning. Hmm. Yeah.
How amazing.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was so much fun.
Yes. That's the
So
only way
much
she would
fun.
have it. We decorated, we served all of her favorite foods. She had a huge sense of humor, so that was incorporated and infused into everything we did. And I will tell you though, I knew I would still get to see her after that party, but for her friends, for our relatives, the courage, the bravery in which they came and celebrated, knowing that was their very, very last time with her. I
Yeah.
still stand in awe of them
Yeah.
and their deep courage. Hmm.
Mm. Yeah, because often, times this can be a time where people will go within and they retreat
Hmm.
because they're just so beside themselves knowing that there's a finale coming.
Hmm.
Um, but what was being asked of them was very different. This time it
That's right.
was don't 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 fear, right?
That's
She
right.
wanted them to walk into this and know, celebrate with me.
That's right.
Like this is my freedom. I'm
That's right.
I'm I'm celebrating the fact that I have finally said I am not doing this anymore and I've lived
Mhm.
with purpose and conviction and am satisfied with a life well lived. Now let's celebrate it, which is so different than what we normally show up
Mhm.
in. We normally are like daunting, it's exhausting, it's painful. And her friend said, not today.
That's
I'm
right.
gonna do this the way she's
That's right.
asking.
Kristen, you
Oh,
captured that so beautifully. And I
oh,
look forward to this recording to listen to
yeah.
you say that again and again because that's
Oh,
exactly what it was. Thank you.
oh,
Mm,
yes, yes. Well, she's with you. She's been with you this whole episode because
that's
I'm
right.
watching the sun beam down on your forehead, and I'm like,
That's right. She is.
she is
Yes.
right here. She's been with you the whole time. My whole body's been tingling the whole. As soon as we hit record, I'm like, she
Mm.
showed up, and she was like, "Sister, make sure you get it right.
Aw, yes.
Make it
Thank you.
fun." She said, "I don't want
That's,
you
you're
crying this whole
absolutely right.
time."
You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
yeah.
Mm.
Ooh. All right, we're gonna go into a spot
Okay.
that might be a little bit harder. We're gonna
Yeah.
walk into Jenny's passing.
Yep.
If you need time, take the time you need to go through this. You spent many beautiful moments with your sister leading up to her transition. You requested to share those experiences of Jenny's passing with our listeners in a way that speaks to grief and loss from a place that's sacred and to share some of those reflections. So I'd like to take some time for you to share some of those reflections with us and just go
Hmm.
for it.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank
yeah.
you. And I hold so many beautiful memories from those final days. But I am going to choose to speak about one that just felt extra special. And it was the day before Jenny died. And I visited her in the afternoon. And at that point, she was just in her bed. And that was may I just share a huge, um, just something so loving that my parents did. My sister, I'm going to just pause for a second. My
Yeah.
sister wanted to die at home,
Okay.
and everything that my parents did to
Hmm.
make that happen was one of the most incredible sacrifices I have ever known. The way, yeah, it was beautiful. But she was at home, she was drifting in and out of awareness. And my sister and I were very different in that I love physical touch. My sister does not. Like for
Okay.
anybody watching, like she would not hug, she would love tap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I bring that up because that day she allowed me to rub her back. And I sat there for a long time, just gently rubbing,
Hmm.
and tears were just running down my face because I knew that in my heart that she was offering me that moment as a gift.
Mhm.
something she knew that would comfort me deeply, and it did. The next morning, Jenny passed, and I can't help but feel that her allowing me that closeness, that
Mhm.
tender exchange, was one of her final selfless gifts, her way of saying goodbye and of leaving me something so sacred to hold.
Oh,
Hmm. Yeah. Your
that's so
tears touch my
beautiful.
heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
The only
Wow.
way I could get through that was I practiced. I read that several times, but the first time, all the tears, all the emotions came back because my sister, she really just wanted to do things her way and what she wanted to do. And that
Mhm.
in her final moments, she stepped out of that and gave me something she knew that I would just treasure so much. I was
Yes.
I was going to jump in her bed and just cuddle her, and we laughed because that would have been awful for her, but she let me do that, and it was beautiful. Mhm.
It's almost as if she felt finally at peace
Mhm.
that it was okay to let somebody that close to her.
Mhm. Kristen, thank you for saying that because it also
Yeah.
reminded me that when I was rubbing her back, I said to her, "Jenny, we're all going to be okay.
Mhm.
Mom and dad are going to be okay. We've
Yeah.
got them. Zach and
Mhm.
I are going to look after them,
Mhm.
right? You can go. We're going to be okay." My sister
Yes.
was the rock of our family. And
Mhm.
I think, even at the end, she was just so worried. And I'm not saying that's what gave her permission to let go, but in
Yeah.
my mind, I hold that. And in my heart, I hold that as maybe it did. Maybe it did.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I 100% believe that is exactly what happened.
Mhm.
Um, when somebody is trying to make that decision, is this the time? Is it right? There's this grappling with, is everybody I'm leaving behind going to be okay?
Mhm.
And I've seen it and heard it time and time again. When somebody knows and they hear those words, it does give them that permission, that feeling
Mhm.
to say, okay, I've done what I needed to do. I can go. I can go in peace. And she needed that peace because she knew
Mhm.
how important she was to your family. And
That's right.
that conversation allowed her to be able to settle into that and be able to transition much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Thank you for sharing that because I know that was hard.
Thank you.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. And you practice, like you said, you practiced it to be able to be able to share that story. And I
Mhm.
think that's so important for people to understand that the more you practice or get into this space, you'll be able to share that story in a
Mhm.
way, and the pain never goes away, but the ability to deliver the message
Mhm.
becomes a little easier in a sense of being able to let those words fall off your tongue and be able to communicate that, still feeling that pain. So it's not like the pain goes away, but it's a process. And that's what you're showing right now. This is a process.
Mhm.
This didn't
Mhm.
just You didn't just wake up and say, okay, I can read this story.
Right.
I know even when I talk to others and I share, about when my brother passed, initially I couldn't speak.
Mhm.
And then eventually it becomes easier. And then as you realize you're able to share a story that could help somebody along their journey, it becomes easier to share because you're sharing the message of that person. You're carrying on, their story for them.
That's right.
Um,
And
yeah.
our moving forward, our being okay
Mhm.
does not negate our love for them,
Yeah.
right? I know many people who are held down in such a heavy way by their grief
Mhm. Mhm.
that I almost wonder if they feel that's a way of showing love.
Right.
And I just want to say that I love my sister so much,
Mhm.
and my parents do.
Mhm.
And you can have lightness after their death, and it's not a betrayal. Mm,
Yes. Oh, that's so important. That's so
mhm,
important because there's this whole feeling of survivor's guilt
Yeah,
that can exist. And it's not what the person wants for us. It's a very normal human response
of
and human
course.
reaction, right? But at the same point, that person would want you to live
That's right.
happily, to celebrate them. They would be, overjoyed to know that you were able to carry any experience you had with them forward and
That's right.
live life to the fullest
That's right.
versus feeling like a prisoner of the emotion. I mean, we understand the 5 stages of grief have to
Yep.
happen and all of that, but if there's a way to navigate from that darkness to that light, then you can celebrate the life versus
That's
live
right.
in the sadness of it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so important. So we're going to talk about what has grief taught you, which it has
Yep.
taught you so much. And
So
I
much.
think this
Yes.
is, yeah, I think this is so important for our listeners. We just started touching on it. Grief is such a deeply personal process and experience that we have to navigate. There are so many books, blogs that, speak about grief and loss. I just talked about the 5 stages of grief tools that help us work through, and nothing quite prepares anyone for loss, whether it's anticipated or sudden. And you had a truly special experience with grief and loss. And so I'd like for you to take some time to share what grief has taught you.
Absolutely. And you're
Yeah.
absolutely right that grief has been a profound teacher for me. And it has shown me that even in its heaviness, there can be beauty.
Mhm.
I grew closer to my sister in those final months, closer than I had been in my entire life. The same for my parents. Grief pulled us together. And
Mhm.
I'm deeply proud of all of us, how our family loved and supported Jenny, never questioning her
Mhm.
and always letting her lead the way. I've learned that people truly want to help, but sometimes they don't know how. And when you
Mhm.
tell them specifically what you need, they are delighted to be there for you.
Mhm.
I've also learned that grief can bring disappointment,
Mhm.
that some people don't show up in the way you had hoped. And for a while, Kristen, I was very angry at
Mhm.
those people.
Mhm.
But with time, I have found I could reframe those experiences with some grace and compassion. So, for those listening, if you're stuck in anger, I get it. And I want to give you hope that
Mhm.
there will be a day where you have grace and compassion. Grief has also revealed in me a strength I didn't know I had. I've always
Mhm.
looked at my sister as someone who was incredibly brave, and
Mhm.
I now know I'm really brave too.
Mhm.
I have discovered the gift of community, of meeting so many of Jenny's friends who I knew or I had heard of, but now they're part of my life, my everyday
Mhm.
life. And together we've built this circle of remembrance that feels like a continuation of her legacy.
Mhm.
I've learned that you can walk through grief without regrets when you
Mhm.
fully show up, when you love deeply, and you say what needs to be said. And I've learned that grief moves like the tide, but even after the hardest waves, there is still light, there is still love, and there is still life waiting to rise again. Mhm.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
There were, you learned a lot in
I
this
learned a lot
process.
and I'm still
A
learning.
lot.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. You said so many important things that I think it's so important to reflect. And as you go through an experience, look at what you took away from that
Yeah,
experience in a positive, impactful way, recognizing that maybe there were some bumps in the road, but here's the good.
that's right.
Here's, yeah, here's what's prepared you along that journey.
That's right.
So showing up, you briefly mentioned it there.
Mhm.
I admire your strength and your ability to show up and keep showing up for your sister because you're not, it's still a process as
That's
you've
right.
shared with us. You're still
That's right.
going through this for your family and for yourself. And I can only imagine how difficult it must have been for everybody. But what are some of the ways that you can share with us that people showed up for you?
Yep, absolutely. And what I really want to focus on is that the way you show up does not need to be big or profound.
Okay.
That showing up in any way is what
Mhm.
matters. And
Mm,
so I get it though, right? Because it's natural to feel like you need to do something worthy of that moment.
Oh,
And the pressure to do it right can hold us
mm,
back. And we can wait for the perfect words, the perfect gesture, the perfect timing. But I think so much of the time, then those moments have the risk of slipping by us. And I know I've been there. I thought of something too big that I couldn't do,
mm,
and then I missed it. I
mm,
missed being there for people. So what I
mm,
thought I would focus on today is to really show kind of the small but hugely beautiful ways that people showed up for me to encourage people. Don't let a big plan hold you back from showing up. And
mm,
so I will tell you, I loved all the cards in the mail. I put pressure on myself with cards that it has to be this most amazing message.
mhm,
But even the people who sign their names, right?
mm.
Those cards that hug in the mail. And
Yeah.
Krishna, I'm looking right here at our bookshelves, and two
Uh-huh.
months later, I still have every card lined up. And it's a visual reminder to me of
Mhm,
how much I'm cared for and how much I'm supported. And
mm.
that means so much to me.
Yeah.
I loved
Mm,
people who shared a photo or a story on Facebook. Uh,
mhm,
Something that was super tender to me is when my friends sent my parents a card. When
mm.
people love the people you love, oh,
Yes.
that's something special.
Mhm,
Text messages. And what I'll share about this again, it just matters that you show up. And a beautiful way to text someone is to let them know you're thinking of them and put no need to respond.
mm,
Because the hardest thing for me was when people used these four words, how are you doing? Question mark. And that was it.
mhm.
I'm not a person who can just respond, I'm good, or yeah, it just felt like a lot of pressure. So if again, I would rather have the text than not, but if this helps
Yes.
someone, um,
Yes.
yes. I loved
Yeah.
someone gave me jam, banana bread, veggies from their
Ah,
garden. I love dark roast coffee. People dropped off
mm,
bags of, beans, coffee beans on my porch.
mhm.
A friend of Jenny's who lives in Australia, she sent me a Spotify playlist of what she listens to. She sent me a poem she had written after Jenny
Oh,
passed. My sister told us that she would come back as a firefly and she would shake her glowing booty at us.
oh, I love it.
Yes. And so people would send firefly stickers, or a friend of mine sent a scarf, somebody sent a pair of earrings. And another way you can really show up for someone is just helping behind the scenes. A dear friend of mine, I had reached out to her and I said, "Hey, I want to stay with my parents and my sister longer today."
Mhm,
She's like, "Let me take Emma to her appointment." And then
mhm,
she took her to Starbucks on the way home. Another day, she dropped off smoothies for Emma, right? Those
mm,
little things, none of it
mhm.
was too small.
Right.
Um, and yes, there were certainly grander gestures, like stunning, generous, unforgettable gestures, but it was the full mosaic that mattered. The accumulation of kindness, the steady
Mm,
stream of presence in so many forms.
yeah.
And I want to emphasize that it doesn't matter how big the gesture, it just matters that you try.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you share that because, as I mentioned a little earlier, sometimes people disappear because they don't know
Mhm.
what to say or
Right.
they don't know how to process it. And it's those little things. It's just like you said, it's the text message. You don't have to respond, just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you,
Yes.
sending prayers, something as simple because no matter what words you try to find, there really aren't any really great words that make a person feel like, okay, this loss,
That's
it's
right.
here and sympathies and condolences and there's the standard, things that people
Right.
do, but that sometimes isn't it. It's just acknowledge the fact that there's aching
Right.
occurring.
That's
Yeah.
right. We had people send us gorgeous professional floral bouquets, but what I loved just as much was my neighbor who went in her backyard and picked just simply cut some beautiful flowers and arranged them in a vase, like in a
Yeah.
mason jar, right? Like
Right.
that, I love
Right.
those just as much. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there was so much effort and it was very
Yeah,
intentional.
that's
Yeah,
right.
very
That's right.
intentional. So the weight of grief and loss can both be beautiful and heavy. which
Mhm.
we've covered. There are moments when there's so many needs that need to be met. And I'd like to highlight the importance of self-care during this time because there's so much self-care that needs to occur
Mhm.
during grief and loss because we're focusing on all of, as you mentioned earlier, is everybody else
Yeah.
okay? Is the individual who's going through this okay? There's a lot that's happening. So can you share what are some of the ways you showed up for yourself during this
Yeah.
time?
Yes, and I will tell you, I'm really proud that I take really good care of myself, always, and especially during this journey.
Mhm.
I could do an entirely like a separate podcast on mindful self-compassion and how that changed my life, but I will
Mhm.
just share that that infused into everything that I did. Um, I love to journal, and in the
Mhm.
mornings I would do a practice that I learned from Elizabeth Gilbert, and it sounds like
Mhm.
you do this as well.
Yeah.
But I start with a journal prompt. Love, what would you have me know today? And then God's
Mm.
wisdom just like flows through my pen and he gives me word by word, line by line, and it's just the direction and the guidance that I need for that day. I also finish my day with journaling, more of a list journaling, and it's
Mhm.
a gratitude list. And you better
Mhm.
believe my sissy poo was on the top of every list I made during that time, and still, but
Yeah.
every single day she topped that list. And I check in with myself every day to see how I'm doing, and I give myself permission to really feel the feels. For
Mhm.
me, I have an easier time allowing myself to feel angry, and I let myself feel angry. Sometimes I have a hard time letting myself feel sad, but
Mm.
my husband encourages me to just let it out. And so I would just cry, and he would hold me, and that helped me so much.
Mhm.
I also, um, during that time, I allowed like good enough could just be enough during
Mhm.
that time, whether it
Mhm.
was with my business, with my
Yeah.
life, with
Mhm.
grief, all of it.
Mhm.
Uh, I was fatigued the entire month of January, and I allowed myself to just be tired.
Mhm.
I didn't push too hard.
Yeah.
I also leaned into the things that make me feel good. I love working out and strength training, so
Mhm.
that was really helpful to me. Or
Mhm.
nourishing myself with really delicious food,
Mhm.
going on walks. I have an e-bike, and the amount of giddiness and delight it brings me, like zooming around the neighborhood. So I took really long rides. Uh,
Mhm.
and a lot of times it was sitting on the couch with my coffee, just breathing, just
Mhm.
looking around in nature. During that time, I asked for what I needed without
Mhm.
apology, and it was beautiful the way, and
Mhm.
I mentioned that people were delighted to help. Uh, and all of that,
Mm.
really helped me carry that grief with more gentleness
Yeah.
and more love. Yeah.
So I love everything that you just said because I've talked to so many who have felt guilty
Mhm.
for taking their time or the moments to acknowledge how they felt while things were happening, feeling like they needed to focus so much on the individual or others around them that were experiencing this, and they neglect themselves. And then long after the person has passed, it creeps up. And
Mhm.
now you're in this space where it's difficult to process. There's anger, there's frustration, there's grief, there's loss, there's all of these things flooding in, almost like a almost like postponing the
Mhm.
process of processing,
Mhm.
right? And so what you've shared just adds so much to why it's so important during that time to really love on yourself, to really
Mhm.
give yourself the opportunity to acknowledge how you feel.
Mhm.
You don't have to completely put yourself aside. Matter of fact, put yourself into the recipe as
That's
it's
right.
happening, right?
That's right. I will also say this, that I don't want to come across as though I did everything right, regret nothing. There were
Sure.
certainly moments, Kristen. There was one moment in particular. I'm very open. My sister's very private.
Mhm.
She was sharing something. she's like, when you do this, I need you to do that. She was
Mhm.
sharing something she needed.
Yeah.
And I I said something that it wasn't bad or mean or it wasn't anything, but when I look back at it, I'm like, did I really need to say that? And I
Mhm.
stop. I tell myself, no, Jenny knows. She
Yeah.
knew.
She did.
When she thought of you, she thought of how much love and adoration,
Mhm.
gratitude, right?
Mhm.
So I want you to know, yes, those thoughts come up, uh,
Yeah.
but but I don't let them overtake me because we
Right.
would never have done any of this right because it's
Mhm.
not, thankfully, it's not something we need to walk in
Mhm.
most of our lives.
Right. Absolutely. And again, that's so important, showing yourself that grace and knowing that
Mhm.
there's no script for this. There is
Right,
no
right.
particular formula or right way or wrong way to go through, and you're allowed to be human and to have
That's right.
moments where maybe you're like, "Oh, I would have said it different," but at
That's right.
that point in time, real time is happening and you're just reacting, and you're allowed. I mean, there's
That's right.
frustration, there's anger, there's happiness, there's sadness, there's all of these you're going through a full spectrum of these ebbs and flows,
That's right.
and perfection is not the key. It's the intention.
Yep.
It's, as you said, the showing up. It's the person knows you, so they know your heart, right?
That's
And
right.
knowing the heart is more important than maybe the delivery, maybe if
That's right.
something comes out wrong, right?
That's right. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes.
Oh, wow. So I want to go through some closing and concluding thoughts because I know we've covered a lot.
Hmm.
And I just, as we're nearing the close of our time, I want to turn it over to you to offer some words of wisdom to share with our listeners.
Hmm.
Starting off with, if you could share one message with our listeners. I know we shared a lot today, but what would that message to the world be?
Hmm. I'm just going to underline it. It's going to be short and sweet. Show up for
Mm.
yourself and for others. Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it sounds simple, but wow, it's something that oftentimes it takes, as you shared in this episode, it takes courage, it takes
Mhm.
conviction, perseverance, resilience. Sometimes the hardest part is showing up.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's always worth it.
So before we conclude, are there any additional reflections that you'd like to share with the listeners? Anything that we might have missed or you wanted to expound upon?
That my sister's care team, so hospice, dialysis, all of her teams, they told us many times how special it was that we supported Jenny and honored her wishes. They
Mm,
said not every family does that, that
mm,
many push their loved ones to keep holding on,
mm,
to keep trying, to
mm.
keep fighting. But what I've come to understand is this, that letting go is not giving up. It's a
Mhm.
transition. It can
Yeah.
be tender and sacred and beautiful.
Mm,
And when we allow our loved ones the dignity of choice, we give them freedom.
mm.
Freedom to live fully until the end and freedom to let go when they're ready. And my hope is that we can all hold that kind of space for each other.
Wow.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow. That is so profound. It really is. And that is so like, whew, we see it time and time again, imposing our own will on our
Mhm.
loved ones.
Mhm.
Yeah. But if we take that step back to just honor and to cherish what they want and their experience, right? And
Right.
we just have to kind of set our will for them aside so that they can have that time to choose and to really feel comfortable and to feel at peace and not feel at odds, because even if it's most best intentions, right? As we talked about earlier, somebody saying like, well, don't you want to try this or you could try that? Well, yeah, we could exhaust all options and we could prolong the inevitable and we could make it more painful or hurtful for the person. But sometimes we just have to say that person knows when enough is enough.
Mhm. That
Yeah.
death is not failure.
No, it's not. It's not.
Mhm.
It's part of the human experience.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Jamie, I can't thank you enough for being so vulnerable, authentic, sharing your journey with grief and loss with our listeners, and continuing to honor your sister's legacy by sharing her story. It's beautiful the way you're honoring her. Um, you didn't let her story end with that day that she passed. You're continuing to carry her messages forward, to share her light with the world. I think that's so huge. I had the opportunity to read through your Nourish daily reflections on Jenny's journey, and I felt the love through those and the
Mm,
sparkle of Jenny's life shine through each of those writings. They were so beautiful, so authentic, very raw. For
mm,
our listeners, like I mentioned earlier, we will share the link for those reflections so you can get to know Jenny more and understand her story. And at the beginning of our discussion, I also shared that Jamie is the owner of an amazing company,
mm,
Nourish Natural Products. Jamie, I want to be sure to share your work with our listeners
mm,
as your products are part of my household and have been for years. And as I shared with you when I got on, I discovered the power of she very early on. And it's kind of been my signature thing because being she wise, when I saw this, I said, says power of she, that's absolutely for me, even before I was able to experience it. And I use it every day. And I
mm,
also love your Be Well for hand
mm,
sanitizer. And then also the hair thickening spray, use that as well every time I wash my hair. So
mm,
your products have become a staple in my household,
mm,
and all of my children use them. My
mm,
mother uses them, so it's a big deal for us. So I want to make sure we share your product
mm.
information with our listeners. And I can't speak highly enough about them. I mean, clearly I
Oh.
just did a little bit.
Which I'm
So
absolutely grateful.
yeah. So
Kristen,
Jamie, yeah, please share with our listeners, how can they find you? Where do they find your
mm,
products? Where is Nourish Natural product line found?
yeah, oh, thank you. And thank
Yes.
you for the beautiful product shout outs. Not only have you supported me personally, but professionally, and I'm deeply grateful. You walk your talk in supporting women, and
Yeah.
you have supported me in a very beautiful way. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
My heart, I love, I'm having the time of my life with Nourish. It's 7.5 years ago that I founded
Mm,
Nourish, and it, yeah, it's been this amazing movement of wellness and kindness. And so you can find us at nourishnaturalproducts.com, on Instagram and Facebook at the handle Nourish Natural Products. And I would love to invite you to come to our website and to join our newsletter, because one of my greatest privileges is writing our weekly newsletter where I share my human experience, right?
mm-hmm.
What I've learned that week, how I've grown, what has made my life a little easier, what is challenging, but just real raw conversations. It's my love letter to my community, and so it's one of my favorite things to do. So I'd love for everybody to come join
Yes.
the Nourish Together newsletter. And Kristen, I just thank you for your gifts, your beautiful heart, the
Oh,
tenderness and the love in which you guided this conversation,
mm,
how you honored my sister. And in honoring her, please know what a beautiful impact that has made on my heart and my parents' heart and everybody who loves her who will listen to this.
mm.
You're a difference maker, and I just really celebrate the light and love you are in this world. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
Aw.
Well, thank you. And again, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your story because I believe that this will help so many. And these are things a lot of people don't want to talk about. And you did. You were brave and you know, wow. Yes. I don't have a lot of words. There are you did a lot in this episode. So thank you. And yeah, thank you.
Mm. Namaste, my friend. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. So, for our listeners, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of Surviving the Human Experience. And until next time, be well and stay blessed.